Sometimes viewers on No Budget Reviews, I get criticised for showing examples of cars that are too expensive for the series. I can't be accused of that today because this 2001 MGF 1.8 Freestyle, it cost £400 and it is roadworthy and has got an MOT. The car is sitting a little bit on the low side because of the Hydragas needing pumping up, but yes, it costs £400, and so we are well within the budget for cheap motoring. I've done two TFs on the channel before. They were the later version of this car, but those were both concourse examples, a 2003 TF 135 and a 2004 TF 115. In fact, the 115 was at the NEC Classic Car Show, and it appeared somewhere in, I don't know, part 7 or 8, I don't know, I can't remember. It filmed 16 parts in 3 days, I don't remember anymore. But this belongs to Max, who works at Discount MG Rover Spares, DMG RS, which is here in Southampton. DMG RS actually provide assistance with keeping my 45 V6 on the road. So this is a video that does come under the paid promotion category, which is nice. They provide me with parts to keep it going, and so you can enjoy all the MG Rover content that you need on the channel. I would ask to have a go in this ZS 180, but it's very similar to the one that I did on Tweed Jacket Reviews last year, so that's okay. We'll have a look at the interior. Hood's down at the moment. We'll put that up when we go for a drive because otherwise the wind noise might be terrible. It's a case of spot the bits from other cars. This steering column is similar to the one in an R3 200. I think that headlight switches off an R3 200. The vents look very similar to one of those, but actually it isn't exactly the same. This is a facelifted car. They came in about September 99. And so it's got slightly different instruments, but that little panel in the middle is of an automatic version of the R3 200 and 400. Although it doesn't show the gear ratios, it shows different things. But that is the same little panel that I had on my first R8, which is a 216 SLI automatic from 96, although it was probably made 95. Late registrations and all that sort of stuff. The Freestyle Special Edition came in I think autumn 2001. It's a run-out model. The MGF was discontinued in, I think it was January or February 2001, which is why some of the very early cars are on a 51 plate like this one, although the ones sold to the public generally started on an 02 plate. There's not an awful lot to see on this car apart from possibly where, you know, that front splitter's had a bit of action, and you know, you can tell this was originally bought as a parts car by Max to keep his other two MGFs on the road, which unfortunately no longer exist because they had to go to car heaven, having been hit by two other motorists, which is a bit of a shame. MG Rover rear revokes. We've got the little badge there. These alloy wheels were on the Freestyle, and they were also on some models. They're quite big for this size of car. Nice little drilled cap there. Ventilation for the engine that's in the middle. 1.8 K series, in this case developing 120 horsepower. Nice dual exhausts. In fact, we'll get in and I'll point out some of the other bits that you recognise, such as those locking knobs, which I think are again off an R3 200. Like this mirror switch, which is actually one that was fitted to the later Maestros and Montegos, as well as Rover 800s, the Extra Power SV and all kinds of things. I think these very similar to a Land Rover Freelander actually, these particular controls here. Those look like they're off a Discovery or something, those switches, although I could be wrong about that. Unique gear lever and unique gearbox because the engine's actually in the middle, not at the front. Nice to know we got an MG with a glove box. Oh, viewers. Yes, although I forgot my secret mission documents today, and so we won't actually be trying to get those in. Terribly sorry about that. Nice kind of, I don't know if that's plastic or real metal. I'm not actually sure. It does feel a bit cold. I mean, obviously it's cold today, and the world's tiniest little sun visors with little things like. I better be a bit careful because that feels a bit fragile to me, viewers. The interior light is down here, and it sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. These stalks are exactly the same as on my 45 V6. They're exactly the same. Although they were used on lots of other cars as well. Classic kind of Honda style things. Little ashtray here. Also, somewhere to put my mount for later. I didn't break the mount because it's a very sturdy one, just as well. Oh, excuse me, this belt clip. Remember those from the Polo Mark II that my childminder had when I was younger. Apparently this heater doesn't really do anything, so I've been advised not to touch the controls. There is some heat, which I'll be grateful of when I go for drive later on. No door pockets in the car at all, nothing like that. Just good old open top fun. Don't know what these blanking switches do. I imagine there's probably a fog light switch for some of these. One of them might be for traction control. I don't think we've got traction control in this car. We do have ABS, which bizarrely on an F and TF wasn't standard on many of the models, which I always thought was a bit of an oversight. Right, I think we'd better take a look in the engine compartment. So, way to get into the boot is to use the key. It's also the only way to get into the front boot, or fruit, or frunk, or whatever you want to call it, because the release is just there. We'll be taking a look in that in a little while. So here is for the normal boot, which is in front of the engine, because, well, I mean, the engine's just here, and though that looks pretty bad, it looks like there's been some head gasket failure going on at some point. Mechanically, it's now brilliant. You can see we've got a different type of air filter on it, and there is the K-series. I think the way people normally work on these is to drop them down as opposed to trying to work through this little slot here, because that's not too much fun. So if we just close this, ooh, oh dear, yes, Walk round to the front. I'm going to have to pause the video whilst I open the front boot, because I'm not Ian Seabrook and I can't do it with one hand. And there we are. I've always wondered what this thing on the left was for, because in the two TFs I've driven, that wasn't occupied by anything, but it's for the ABS pump, and here is the ABS pump, and there's the battery. There's the plate. It said it was made under the MG Rover Group ownership. Remote servo, and that's where the spare wheel is, just there. Fuses and everything. You know, in some respects, a lot of the things you need to do on this car, and there's another reservoir there, are relatively easy to do. It's just if you need to do actual engine work, it could be a bit of a problem. Because this is a facelifted car, it's got the indicators that are clear, the pre-facelift ones are orange ones. Right, I think it's time to go for a drive. Well, viewers, Max did warn me that there are some things that didn't work on this car before I set off, and Well, one of them's the power steering. The power steering of this car does not work. Once you've driven a Rover P4 though, that doesn't seem like so much of a challenge. And it should theoretically give me some more steering feel. Gearbox in an MGF or a TF does take a little bit of getting used to. I'm told because the Hydragas and this car needs pumping up that the ride's a bit firm, and you can probably see from the way the camera mount is moving around all over the place that he's absolutely right. I suppose someone like Mr. Ian Kennedy, who's a Hydragas and hydroelastic specialist, will have to come and visit Max at some point and pump up these displacers, which are from, I think, Metro they're similar to, these sort of later Metros. The lighting isn't particularly good because I've got the hood up and I need it up, otherwise you won't be able to hear me very well. But it's actually reasonably good fun. The gearboxes are a little bit, how do I put this? On the specialist side, they require a bit of getting used to, because the engine's in the back. You can't just throw in the good old R65 gearbox that Rover used extensively in lots and lots of their cars from about 1989 onwards, because, well, it wouldn't work. On this little country road just on the edge of a New Forest, yes, it feels like a proper old British sports car. It's got very, very firm suspension with Hydragas not working that well. The heater's working though, which is nice. We've actually got a functioning heater in this car, which is not so bad. Brakes feel nice and positive. It's good to have ABS for once. Rear window does have some tears in it. That's not your imagination. Because this is no budget review, I hope you can hear me because we don't use a separate microphone at all. So that's not the way things go. Certainly, yes, amazing steering feel without any power assistance at all. Just, you know, none. Little K-Series singing away happily in the back. Let's turn right here. It's not turning right in front of that Focus. Let's go first. Handbrake takes a while to get used to. It doesn't go down as far as you'd think it would. So the MGF had 4 engine options. They're different from a TF. The first one that was available was actually this one. It's a 1.8 K series, 118 horsepower. That's the standard tune for most of the 1.8 K series actually. Then there was an automatic version of this engine that came out later on and was also used in the MGTF. There we are, the New Forest National Park. Excellent. Obviously the roads haven't improved, and so we're still wobbling around like everything. That's so good. So in addition to the 118 horsepower version, or 120 as it was known, I think in MG's internal parlance, there was also a 143 brake horsepower version of this engine with variable valve timing. It's the same one that was in the Rover 200 VI, but of course in this car it's mounted in the middle, not in the front. There was also a trophy model of the MGF that was around about the same time as this Freestyle model. I think it was launched about March 2001. That was 160 horsepower from the 1.8 BBC engine. There was also a smaller version of this engine used, which came in, I think, you know, after the facelift, with 110 horsepower. all the engines, apart from the automatic and the 160, were actually upgraded when the TF came out. Right, let's switch the camera around, because I'm probably fell up with my face bouncing around everywhere. If you can actually stand beside of my face, that is. Right, viewers, although the mount is still bouncing around, hopefully this is not so nauseating. The mount itself is in the way, which is just adjusted up a little bit. It's in the way because this is no budget reviews, and that's just the way that it goes. In terms of trim levels, when the MGF was launched in 1995, there weren't really trim levels, there was just MGF 1.8, although when the VVC engine came out in, I think, 1996, obviously that was called the VVC. Later on, they introduced some differentiation between them by having an SE version, and then of course there was the Trophy, which had the 160 brake horsepower engine. There were a number of special editions, such as the 75th anniversary, and the Abingdon, and the Freestyle. The 75th anniversary model had similar wheels to this one. What's really good about this car is the community that actually supports these. Very big, and you know, you see these a lot everywhere. I mean, the prices range from about £400 for one that's just about roadworthy like this. Or rather, you know, let's just say it's a weighting improvement to, I don't know, £4,000 or £5,000 for really nice ones. So this relatively affordable. Is this better than a Mazda MX-5 NA or MB? It's a really difficult question to answer, because it depends really what you want. I mean, they do have problems. I mean, you know, the head gaskets on the case series are well documented for, you know, having issues, and if you've had it done properly by someone who knows what they're doing, and you use a good quality head gasket, like a Victor Reince one, or DMGRS actually do sell the correct spec of head gasket for the MGF. Just don't use a multi-layer steel one, use an original spec, good quality one. I know that Mr. Richardson from Furious Driving has has actually had a head gasket supplied by DMGRS recently. I'm not just telling you this because this is a sponsored video. This is just generally the advice that I used to give when talking about a case series before I even had sort of help with the cost of my own day-to-day running of my 45 V6. Oops, squeaky clutch pedal. Of course, there's rust. I mean, this car has rust on it. You've probably already seen that from the video, and that's just a fact of life with old cars from this era. That's what happens. And you know, it's not, I don't think it's bad as an BMX5. You know, those are worse for rust than one of these is, but they're still bad, and you just have to check that carefully when you're choosing your MGF. A lot of these though these days have been garaged and well looked after, so if that's a problem for you, maybe you just go for a bit more of an expensive example. Am I enjoying myself though, viewers? Oh yes, I am. I'm enjoying myself very much, and I suppose we'll have to go back now to DMGRS and give this car back to Max, although I don't particularly want to because I've quite enjoyed my drive today, and sum up whether this is a good purchase for under £1,000. So viewers, the MGF. Is this a car that you should consider with your budget up to £1,000? Well, a perfectly roadworthy car like this might even be yours for under half of that. It just depends what sort of condition that you want your car to be in. Do you want a car that's going to be a bit of a project like this one and has work for you to do, but you can still use it on a daily basis, which Max actually does with this one? Or do you want a nice concourse example of an F or a TF, in which case you're going to maybe be spending 4 to 5 times this amount at the moment? But there are cars in between as well. It just really depends on what you want. They are a lot of fun. Do I prefer this to a Mazda MX-5? Well, in many ways I do, actually. I like the MX-5s, but I also like these, and actually these tend to be a little bit on the cheaper side for some reason. It just kind of depends what you want, really. And also you could have fun spotting all the things from the Rover Group and MG Rover Parts bin whilst you drive along. Anyway, thank you ever so much indeed for watching this episode of No Budget Reviews. Thank you again to DMGRS for the continued support of keeping our 45 V6 on the road. Thank you to Max for supplying this car, and we'll see you again soon for more inexpensive motoring.